we're going to be making recycled jar lanterns. For this project, you're going to need 1 or 2 recycled jars from your kitchen, some kitchen towel, some coloured markers, and if you don't have a Sharpie or Nico or something else ink-based is fine, and homemade glue. If you don't have homemade glue, PVA glue, craft glue, whatever you have around the house. Now, to avoid getting your hands messy, you can use a long brush, or if you have a pastry brush, or even some more kitchen towel folded, or just get your hands messy with the glue. So for the glue, we're going to be making a mixture which is made with up to 6 ingredients. The basic glue mixture starts with flour, water and a pinch of salt. You can add sugar for glazing, and I like to add bicarb and vinegar for a thicker mixture. You're going to need a jar, a recycled jar that you can store your glue in, a saucepan to cook the glue, and this is what we're looking for at the end. We're going to add a dash of water into the bottom of our pan. Now how much you make is really dependent on how much you can fill in this jar. And at this point we want to cook the flour and make sure that there's enough water. Add the salt. Add as much sugar as you'd like. So remember, the more sugar you add, the more glaze you get. And you can either add more water or some of your vinegar. Come have a look at this. Okay, so once you've got some of these clumps out and you've mixed it until it's fairly consistent, this is where you're going to add the bicarb. So once we add this, it's going to start to react with the vinegar that's inside already. It's really up to you how much you can add, maybe 3 tablespoons. Extra vinegar if you'd like. And this is where we just have to keep stirring. I still have the stove on, about half. You'll see it starts to increase the aeration in the mixture, and this is where it's really easy to get in there and take all the clumps out. Okay, so I've been stirring this for about 3 minutes or so, and this is at the consistency that I'd like. I've also added a bit more water to mine in the end because the flour is becoming a bit thicker. And once you're ready with that, pour it into your jar. Go down the sink if you like, and that's your glue. Now remember, this glue is going to be for paper. Effectively, it's almost like paper mache actually, so it's just to get towel stuck to a jar. So you don't want it to be too thick. If it's too thin though, it won't grip. So to start with, we want to get our kitchen towel and we want to measure the height that we want it to wrap around our jar. So if I'm going to fold mine like this is where I want it to come to. And you notice how there's a gap there? You want to just cut some more paper towel at the same height to fit that gap. Now you do want an overlap, of course, but you don't need to have a serious overlap. Just something like this would be enough. This is the fun part. We're going to decorate our kitchen towel. So I've just folded this to the outside of the towel that would wrap around the outside of the jar. And this is where we get to do any pattern we'd like. If you do have an extension piece, sort of tuck it in. And go ahead and use as many colours as you'd like and patterns as you'd like until you get something like this. So to apply the glue, turn your pattern over. You might find it easier to pre-apply some of the glue underneath first. I do. It depends how thick your glue is. If it's very runny, then maybe you don't even need to. If you're like me and you have an extra piece because you have a bigger jar, you might want to sort of stick it to itself first. Pre-apply some glue to the jar. Now don't worry if this gets anywhere, this is totally washable while it's still dry. And we're going to start rolling this into place. Okay, so at this point here, I'm not going to roll it all the way. Once it gets a bit of grip, just apply more glue from the top, and you want to make sure that the glue really soaks through the towel at this point. Get any bubbles out, flatten it down, so you really want it to be close to the jar. The closer it is to the jar, the better it is. So once it's completely covered and you've got all the air bubbles out, you can either rest that upside down to dry. If you still have the lid, that's even better. You can rest it on top of the lid. And that's going to take about a day to dry. The idea is to do as many as you can. And they look amazing at night time if you put them out on your balcony in a row, or if you do a cluster of them like we have here with your tea light candles in them all at the same time. Thanks very much for joining us to make the recycled jar lanterns today. Alright, so to get started, but if you can't wait to get to it, you definitely can get your candle, and this is probably not going to work. Let's see if it does. Nope. You can eat it, but it doesn't taste fantastic. We're going to be making recycled jar lanterns. It's really sarcastic. Add some sugar. That was salt. Okay. Okay.